This is a clip of an ex-Christian named John leaving Christianity for spirituality, which is vague, but he's going to get a little bit more specific as the video unfolds. And I want to take time to critique some things, including the church. Okay, so stick around to the end because I'm going to leave my critiques of the church mostly to the end. And as always, if John were to watch this video, we're going to watch a clip here in a second. I hope you would be honored in how I break things down from a Christian point of view, with respect, with disagreement. I'm going to expose, critique some things, maybe make some connections, all the while pursuing truth. And so, welcome to Gospel Fortified. I'm Justin, and I want to watch this clip with you right now.
First of all, my Christianity was softening. When my son was a baby, I would take him on like 3 or 4 walks a day around our neighborhood. And in our neighborhood, there's a really beautiful Catholic church. I would walk around that church multiple times every single day. All of a sudden, this thought popped into my head. It was like this thought experiment of this devout Catholic lady. This hypothetical Catholic lady started haunting my every thought. The hypothetical lady goes to church she goes to mass multiple times a week, and she loves God tremendously, and she gives generously of her resources, to the church and to her neighbor, and she loves her neighbor, she loves God, she loves Jesus, and all these things. Very, very devout Catholic lady. But her view of salvation was different from my Protestant Christian view of salvation.
Okay, we'll stop right there. This is a long story of his journey. His video is just fascinating, but this is the start. Okay, where he ends up is one thing, but what's that first domino? It's this hypothetical, devout Catholic lady. That was the start of his Christianity softening, as you heard him say. So we've all had this thought, I'm sure, that there is someone out there of a different worldview, a different spiritual path, maybe even another religion that is more devout or as devout as I am in my spiritual path. What about him? Or for John here, thinking about this hypothetical devout Catholic lady, what about her? And so as he continues, and he kind of one thing leads to the next, wait, my God, according to his Bible, my God will send her to hell because of a lack of theological precision? His response as he goes on in his video is, and I quote, "No way, not a chance." And again, if you watch this video, about 6.5 minutes in, he explains that if someone is so committed and loves God, then essentially they are in. And so I have a few thoughts here to start, and then we'll get deeper and deeper. The first is that I really like this guy. I've loved watching deconstructed Christian stories because these are just awesome people, truly, and you can just tell he's a good guy. I'm not buttering him up. and I don't want to keep it personal. I just want to acknowledge that you can tell he's just an awesome guy. I'd love to have a conversation with him, but I want to stay ideological. Okay, so second, the biblical emphasis on God and judgment is not that he sends people to hell. Okay, now hell is taught. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is God sending is not the theological thrust. It is we all deserve hell. We have sent ourselves to hell. That's the impetus. We call it theologically the fall in Genesis 3, but it's a great term, but it could be better because it's more of a jump. It is an active, hostile rebellion that we are swept up into by our own volition, our own responsible choosing. God is judge, yes, but it's like earthly criminals in our courts, our judicial system. Like it is them and their crimes that send themselves to jail, to prison. It is the judge, but we would say that the judge is just being just. Same with God. We are sinners. We are the guilty ones, and we don't want to call ourselves that. And we might disagree here, but I just wanted to make that little parse that is not the biblical emphasis at all. It is on us. Third, I do find it to be an interesting, strange dichotomy that he puts such a difference between Protestants and Catholics. Now, hear me, there are major differences, and I am not a Catholic for very good reason biblically. At the same time, I do believe tons of Catholics are genuinely saved. They have a genuine knowledge of the gospel of grace, and meritorious works are not getting in the way. Jesus plus something equals everything. But it is just Jesus and his grace equals salvation, which many Catholics believe, then we're all in. And so it's a little strange to me that he goes there. But fourth, and I got 5 quick thoughts. The fourth is that notice how, as he articulates with this hypothetical devout Catholic lady, the gospel, it is a works-based, externally focused salvation that he deconstructed from. Now, I might be stepping too far in saying that. I'm not trying to judge heart or intention. I'm just taking him by his words, by his beliefs. His gospel, as he's articulating, is about commitment. It's about external acts. It's about religious sincerity, religious devotion. We believe as Christians that you can sincerely believe in something and yet sincerely be wrong. So his view here is not the gospel. The Christian gospel, the logic of the kingdom and what Jesus taught is not fanatic religious devotion to God. That's not the start. It's about receiving salvation from the person of Jesus, very specific, a person. It is a relationship at the heart level. And then, of course, in his grace, being transformed to where our lives change. So there can be a fanaticism, but that is not the gospel. He has it backwards. And I think fifth, maybe the most troubling that I see is the idea that truth has no bearing as he articulates this first domino of his story. Christians believe, again, that you can sincerely believe in something and sincerely be wrong. Based on his logic of this external devotion, we would say that suicide bombers are amazing examples of religious devotion. They, in the name of God, lay down their lives for a greater cause, what they believe a greater good. And yet we would all say, no, that's demonic, or maybe not spiritual plane. That's as evil as it can be. That's actually the worst thing that can happen is this religious fanaticism that is just atrocious. Okay, but for his example, there is unity between Protestants and Roman Catholics, but there are also differences. And just, again, for his example, Roman Catholics and Protestants cannot both be right. Can we agree with that? What's true? That's what we press into. We press deeper into theology, deeper into what the Bible teaches. Either Roman Catholics got it, or Protestants got it, or both are wrong. But both can't be right at the same time. Truth matters. What is the source of truth? Fifth, what I would say, was that fifth or was that fourth? I'm trying to think. 1, 2, 3. That was fifth. Okay, so here's another one. You can see his the crumbling of, and I don't mean this offensively. I do think it's what he deconstructed from was a pretty fluffy theology, just even seeing how he articulated the gospel. And I don't mean that wagging a finger. I'm going to critique the church in a few minutes, so stick with me. But there's nothing robust here. Go watch the video. There's nothing robust, which I think is a huge problem with churches today. There is a teaching of me-centered, milky, pop psychology TED Talks that are sprinkled with Bible verses that upon the mild windstorm of a hypothetical Catholic devout lady, all of Christianity comes crashing down. The Bible offers us a theology that is more robust than that. So he moves into what he calls extreme grace, which is essential universalism. And I want to show you another clip, and we're going to find it right here. And boom, that's good enough. All right, here we go.
This is not my theory, but what I call extreme grace. I started thinking about what if God has a way to save people even after they die. I didn't have much like biblical ground to stand on. I fully was allowing myself to think like a heretic, and then I started seriously considering what infinite love looks like. So I was thinking about extreme grace, and then I started thinking about infinite love.
Okay, so you can clearly see that there is a, actually I should probably keep it on YouTube, but there is the next domino has fallen, hasn't it? You hear him say extreme grace, you hear him say infinite love, which we can all agree is not a real God. It's at least not the biblical God. This is a fictitious God, which he admits that he's strayed into a heresy he doesn't care so much about anymore. The grace and the love are absolutely nothing from a biblical worldview without justice and holiness and truth. The moment you untether love and grace from truth is the moment they become nothing. It becomes a sugar-coated worldview. And I don't mean this as a hammer to hit John with or anyone else. This is just what it is. If you start thinking like critically about this, what is love? What is grace if it is untethered from the source of which you're even using these words? It means whatever you want them to mean, which means in this sense, it becomes this sugar-coated worldview that is it turns into a liberal theology, which then turns into a non-theology, which is as the dominoes fall. You get sinless people following a crossless Jesus. And there's no justice, and it makes no sense in the biblical worldview. This is a worldview that screams, just don't look too close. Let's just feel it out. This is what he says. I'm going to show you one more clip where he actually says this, and it's no wonder he ends up trusting himself. So let's go to right here. We're going to kind of go ahead towards the end of his video. This is minute 29. And we're just going to start right here.
In my relationship with God, and one really powerful moment was the moment I decided I made this spiritual decision to trust myself, to trust my intuition. I don't know, Christians out there, like what you believe on your gut, on your intuition, but that's not something that I would heavily rely on for truth. It would always be like, if there's a circumstance that I need wisdom on, it's not like trust your gut. It's like, well, what does the Bible say? What does Christian community say? What do your mentors say? Blah, 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 blah. I made this spiritual decision to trust myself, to trust my intuition, and to really like feel what was right. And just quiet the racing mind, and just like no more need for the intellectual, no more need for the arguments and the evidences.
Okay, so we hear him make the spiritual decision to trust himself. You heard him throw away the external authority. He put away the arguments, put away the brain, put away the intellect. This is what happens as the dominoes start to fall. Just feel it, which just opened up, if we can be honest, Pandora's box on everything. You tell me, what is now right and wrong, and why? It all comes down to you. And what happens when you disagree? What with someone else? Where do you go after you die? How do you know that? No. Don't look too closely, Justin. Bro, just feel. Quiet the mind. Chill out. Okay, that sounds good until something like World War II happens. And this is where a lot of people were right before World War I and World War II. And it's just this, humans are good, Jesus is crossless, and it all sounds good until actual objective evil hits us in the face. And I don't know, his conclusion, as you can imagine, is New Age mysticism. He believes then in reincarnation, past lives, spirit guides, he says all this, consciousness, it's Alan Watts-esque. So where did the church fail this guy? Let's talk about this now. Where did the church fail? I don't know his church. I don't know anything. I don't know what Bible school he went to. In short, from this testimony alone, I'm not judging his heart. I'm judging his video. And it seems like he was more of an adherent to moral therapeutic deism than biblical Christianity. Moral therapeutic deism, which is this distant God who's loving, who's not involved, who in the end, everyone is saved. It's just this spiritual thing. I could totally be wrong there, but I'm just basing it off his words. So don't hear that as a judgment in terms of his heart, but ideologically what I've heard from this video, and I've watched it a couple times. But let's aim at the church. What did potentially the church get wrong? I got one slide for this. First, he was not offered a robust theology that properly rooted love and truth, properly explained all the attributes of God to him, not just one, and explained why our brains are crucial to faith, to weighing evidence and basing things off that. Second, the full gospel of grace was probably taught, maybe, we're speculating, I'm speculating, but it seemed to be outweighed by a me-centered, functionally works-based righteousness, probably incredibly emotional, which is hyper common today, which the Catholic lady exposed. And again, for that little windstorm to shake his faith and for all of Christianity to crumble at that shows that there was not much robust there in the first place, which I'm going to blame some on the local church. Third, he never mentioned a pastor or a group of pastors that took his questions seriously. Whether that's about judgment or sin or the differences between Roman Catholic and Protestant salvation, love, holiness, this seemed to have been a private journey that, if communal, with accountability, and I don't mean that word with all the junk attached to it, just a communal conversation, I think it could have been better processed through. And I think these are serious, serious rebukes of the local church. And again, don't hear me condemning this one local church because I don't know which one it is. And I don't know those people, and they're maybe amazing. But this, at least it shows what is happening at a large scale level, that a lot of churches are, in order to be palatable to culture, or they are like, just like not rich in theology themselves, have just called it quits. And what's got them under the thumb is just being relevant. And it is killing people because we need deep roots in the sovereignty of God, hope in Christ as revealed in the Bible if we are to make it. And so don't hear what I'm not saying in all this. I'm not saying that he didn't deconstruct from Christianity, but from something fictitious. No. It could absolutely be that. But it does seem like at least a flimsy, emotionally based flavor of Christianity at best. And that said, I hope John sees this, would feel honored, and maybe how this conversation has, maybe would start a further dialogue. But I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Hope you hear my heart in it, and that you would subscribe for more content like this. Watch one of these videos, and I'll see y'all next time.